I bet you clicked on this video thinking that I was going to give you some really pointless advice like how you should wash your hair in cold water to keep your cuticle down and keep your hair looking shinier. But honestly, who wants to take a shower in really, really cold water? I have never done that ever, and I have a channel about hair. So let's not do that today. Let's not give really pointless advice that no one's gonna follow. Today I wanna give you some really tangible advice, some really easy to follow steps that will get your hair looking amazing over time. Let's go. Mistake number one that I see a lot of clients making is placing no focus on the inside of their body. Oftentimes when I see hair that's very brittle, that's breaking, or that is going through hair loss that is not genetic, it's often because there's something going on internally that's coming out. There are several types of hair loss that are actually associated with high levels of stress. And when I talk about high levels of stress in the body, it could be something like a thyroid issue, it could be something like restrictive dieting, it could also be something like pregnancy and childbirth. Oftentimes when a woman goes through childbirth, there are a lot of changes or a lot of stress that goes on in the body, and that is often associated with the health of the hair or with excessive hair falling out. There are several types of alopecia that are actually triggered by high levels of stress in the body, one being telogen effluvium. Telogen effluvium is a temporary hair loss. It is caused often by, again, stress in the body, like a high fever or something else that's going on, and it's just temporary, so the hair will come back. That is postpartum hair loss, and I see it a lot in the salon. Another type of alopecia that is often triggered by high levels of stress is alopecia areata. Alopecia areata looks like circular bald spots throughout the head, and they can often come after about 3 months later of a high stress episode. So if you're having a lot of issues with hair loss or even with dry, brittle hair or hair that won't grow, I want you to ask yourself, am I eating properly? Am I sleeping well? Am I going through a period of high stress in my life, such as a childbirth or a divorce, hormonal changes? All of that can have a huge impact on your hair. So what you want to do if you're noticing significant amounts of hair loss or really dry and brittle hair is make an appointment with your doctor and get your levels checked with a blood test. When I got my levels checked is when I realized that I had a pretty significant thyroid problem that was leading to really dry, brittle hair and tons of breakage. Then when you can correct that problem, you will start seeing that things start changing for you. If you want to supplement, you can also get hair, skin, and nail vitamins. I use the ones from Costco. It's pretty inexpensive and it's pretty good. I just take 2 a day, and that just gives me a little bit of supplementation in case I'm lacking somewhere in the vitamins that are essential for hair growth and hair health. Mistake number 2 is improperly washing your hair, and I could go on about this forever, and I actually did, because I did an entire video on hair washing mistakes that you are making. If you want to check that out, then you can click on this link, and I'll also leave it in the comment section below. You can watch that video next, because there's a lot of tips on different things that you're doing that's probably wrong in the shower that could be leading to bad hair results. But for the sake of this video, I want to talk about 2 very important things. The first one is using the wrong shampoo for your hair type. If you are using the wrong shampoo for your specific hair type and you are not addressing the needs of your specific hair, or if you're using really low grade shampoos with a lot of sulfates, really high levels of detergent, you are not going to have great hair results. You're going to end up with dry, brittle hair that's breaking a ton. There is something to be said for investing in a great shampoo and conditioner. It doesn't have to be $1 million, but you want to make sure that the ingredients are solid, that they're concentrated, and that they're sulfate free. I did a whole video on drugstore shampoos and conditioners that I recommend. You guys are welcome to check out that video. You don't have to break the bank to get a great shampoo and conditioner, but it is important that you do get a good shampoo and conditioner, and one that is suitable for your specific hair type, whether that's for dry, damaged hair, whether that's for smoothing, whether that's for managing curls, or whether that's even for volume if you have very fine hair. If you are using the wrong shampoo and conditioner, that wrong first prep step, you are not going to have great hair results. The next mistake that you could be making is actually not washing your scalp, but washing your hair. Shampoo is actually made to wash your scalp. And by default, it will wash your hair, but it should be focused on the scalp. So we have to think about it like this. Your scalp, is that skin that covers your head. Your follicles are underneath your scalp, and your hair grows from your follicles. So really the scalp is like the soil where all of the seeds and all of the buds are planted. We want to make sure that the soil is super healthy and in really great shape so that the hair can grow out of it, really luxuriously and healthy and has a great environment. So when we are washing the scalp, we want to make sure to part the hair to get the shampoo right there into the skin, and we want to massage our scalp with our fingers or with even a shampoo brush, something that's going to cause an exfoliation effect so that we can get rid of debris, we can get rid of dirt, we can get rid of loose skin or skin that's on the surface. We really want to make sure that area is completely clean so that the follicles have an opportunity to grow out of it really nice and healthy. Mistake number 3 is abusing your hair when it is wet. When your hair is wet is when it's at its most fragile state. Hair that's wet is quite elastic. So if you take a piece of wet hair and a piece of dry hair and you stretch it, that wet hair is going to stretch and break. It's actually quite elastic in that state, whereas dry hair is stronger, so it doesn't have that stretch factor to it, so it's not as likely to break. Now, I have watched videos where people have said, don't ever brush your hair when it is wet. And I think, again, that's really pointless advice because no one is gonna do that. Just like no one's gonna take a shower in really cold water, no one is gonna leave their tangled rat's nest hair and only brush it when it is completely air dried. And not to mention, most people don't even air dry their hair. So that advice doesn't work for everyone, and it certainly wouldn't work for curly haired people. A more tangible way to get around the stretchy wet hair problem is to use a brush specifically tailored for when your hair is wet. So wet brushes are amazing options for this. Tangle teasers are great. Basically what they have is really flexible bristles. So when you're going through the hair, it's moving and forming to the hair to get rid of the tangles without causing such an abrasive force on the actual tangles and hence breaking the hair. The next thing that you do not want to do is put your hair up when it is wet with an elastic. I cannot stress this enough. That tension on that wet hair with an elastic is going to be disastrous long term. And I've seen this in clients with very short nape hair. Those clients tend to put their hair up in ponytails or in tight buns when it is wet. And that hair that hits that elastic repeatedly over time starts breaking, and they end up with a whole row of super short little hairs. Now, say you're a swimmer or say you work out a lot and you have to put your hair up wet. A way to get around it is to use a fabric covered elastic or a scrunchie, or you could use a hair bobble, something that's not going to cause those points of tension in the ponytail or in the bun. There's also a really cool product by Kitsch. I'm not sponsored by Kitsch, so this is totally unbiased, but it is a scrunchie that's also a towel. I love this thing. I use it all the time. So after the shower, sometimes I put my hair in like a low little bun with my scrunchie towel. I do my makeup, and what the scrunchie towel does is it actually absorbs a ton of that moisture and, allows for my hair to dry out of my face, but also not have any damage associated with it because it's just a soft little towel that wraps your hair up. The next thing you absolutely do not want to do with wet hair is sleep on wet hair. You do not want to sleep on wet hair. This is a surefire way to totally break and damage your hair and rough up your cuticle. In my opinion, it's less damaging to blow your hair out with heat before you go to sleep than to actually sleep with it wet and have it like rubbing on that pillow. And that brings me to mistake number 4, which is improper sleep habits. Do not wear your hair in a tight ponytail or in a tight bun when you go to sleep, even if you're using a scrunchie. Anything that's high and tight is going to cause a lot of problems for you long term. And take it from me that lost all the hair on the sides of my head due to traction alopecia. You don't want to create friction on any zones of your head repeatedly over time. What you can do instead, if you want to get your hair out of your way, so you have really long hair and you really feel like you need to wear it in a bun, do a braid instead. Having that nice soft braid that sits down, that isn't pulled really tight, is going to be the perfect way to keep your hair neatly in place and is not going to create any unnecessary tension on the head. Another thing that you can do that I highly recommend is getting a satin pillowcase. Satin pillowcases are amazing because they allow your hair to kind of flow as you sleep. You're not getting any roughness or any abrasion that you would get from a cotton pillowcase. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you found this video super helpful. If you liked this one, then you may really enjoy watching this one next. I will see you next week. Bye.